Hello, it's Professor Marsh again, and this is the Vita Volunteers training. We're on to adjustments to income. This is lesson 17, and in the materials, you'll find the link to lesson 17 on both the advanced and the basic tracks. Uh, I did learn today that some of you have had some trouble in accessing those uh, Lincoln Learn training lessons. And so I would urge you to make sure that your pop-ups are permitted. So the pop-up blocker uh, is not working. You're going to have to disable that. And then also to make sure that if you can't follow those links, if it's giving you an error message or says that the page is not secure, well, the only thing it's not secure from is that it's got lots of pop-ups to teach the IRS lessons. And so if you can get your IT person or any IT person who knows how to grant a certificate or permission for your browser to reach that particular website that I've linked in the Wolf Den materials, you will find that these are very helpful tools. If you can't have access to those, then do go to publication 4012 and look at the appropriate tab for the lesson. We've done income, and we're now doing adjustments to income, and then we're also going to do the uh, itemized deductions and the standard deduction in the next two lessons. So if you're on the basic track, you'll just do the standard deduction. If you're on the advanced track, you'll do itemized deductions. But let's go on to the uh, lesson 17. The tax map link is broken. I have put a new one into Wolfden. So when you see that tax map resources listed, just understand that link is broken, and I have a new one to the appropriate page. Uh, it's a very long lesson. It's 79 pages on the skills workout, and there's a really excellent tax layer tutorial that is linked as well that is about 11 minutes long. It's a good lesson. It's on entering adjusted gross income. So adjustments to income, we've gone through gross income. That's all the income that you have with all those little lessons and putting them all together. And now we're going to take gross income and adjust it typically downward to adjusted gross income. And that's a very important topic in the tax law. Adjusted gross income is a special term of art, a special definition that you learn. It is a specific line on your tax return, on your Form 1040, and it provides uh, a number of additional functions in addition to just being a subtotal there on the tax return. It has an effect on what deductions you can take for itemized deductions, and it has an effect on many other topics in the tax law and the calculations that we make. In any event, take a look at the skills workout. If you go to the first page of that, and again, that is a pop-up, so make sure that your uh, pop-up blocker is disabled. On the first page, there is a link to publication 4491. It is a 20-page lesson, and it's got links to lots of publications and forms. If you were back on on the home page for lesson 17, you'd see up in the top right-hand corner that there are several major categories of adjustments to income: educator expenses, self-employment tax, the deduction for a deductible portion of the self-employment tax, penalties for early withdrawals, for example, from certificates of deposit, alimony that's paid for pre-2019 separation and divorce agreements or decrees, IRA contributions, student loan interest, jury duty pay, and then there's other adjustments to income. So again, all of these adjustments are taken from or added to, typically taken from, they're almost all subtractions, from gross income, and that brings you to adjusted gross income. And that's the important lesson. So for publication 4491, make sure that you're looking at the current publication 4491 and not the 2021, which I think is actually linked in the material. So please do look at publication 4491 for the 2022 tax returns. Then on the second page, you'll see a highlighted portion, part 4 of the intake, interview, and quality review sheet. And if you look at the materials that are linked on that, that's just note that those materials are, and the job aids on page 3, those materials are a little bit out of date. And so what I would ask you to do is when you go and look at publication 4012, look at the 2022 version of publication 4012, and each link will show you how to enter items into the TaxSlayer software. Then on pages 4 through 6, you'll see examples of deductible educator expenses, and I'll just ask you to go through those, click on the explanations. If you get anything wrong, click on the wrong answers and click on the right answer, and just find out why each is correct, and the correct answer is correct and the wrong answer is wrong. Then on page 7, there is a discussion and also a question about the deductible portion of the self-employment tax. As you know, self-employment tax, well, as you're going to know, self-employment tax is another tax, and that is something that is sorry about that, I was on the wrong page. So the deductible portion of the self-employment tax. The self-employment tax is for people who are self-employed and don't pay in Social Security contributions out of their wages, so they have to pay an equivalent tax that's the self-employment tax, and the amount that the employer would get to deduct if it were Social Security is the amount that the self-employed person gets to deduct, and they get to take it as an adjustment to income. Then on page 8, you have the self-employed health insurance deduction, and you can see that, and it'll give you an explanation for how that works. And then on pages 9 through 11 is a series of items related to the adjustment that you get, the deduction that you get for paying a penalty for the early withdrawal of a CD. So you get to reduce your taxable income or reduce your adjusted gross income by that amount. And that goes on through page 11. So you can see those questions. Go ahead and do the exercises and the examples. And then we get to page 12, and we have the case study of Anthony, who got a deduction for alimony for amounts paid under an agreement or an order prior to December, on or prior to December 31st, 2018. And then on page 13, you also see the example of Victoria. And so she probably has paid more alimony than anyone in history. On pages 14 through 27, you have the IRA contributions to traditional IRAs, which are deductible subject to a number of limits. There's also discussion of the problem of excess contributions. What happens if you contribute too much, and how long do you have to take it out, and what happens to the income on the excess contribution, and then the effect of employer-provided retirement accounts on IRA contributions, and those are all important topics, and it goes on for 14 pages, so it gets you all the way to page 28. And then on page 28, you have the also important discussion of health savings accounts. Now, a lot of our customers at Vita are not going to have health savings accounts. Typically, these are the types of benefits that are provided by perhaps more profitable and more well-established employers as part of the menu of benefits that they have for their employees. And sadly, a lot of our customers that we're going to have in the Vita Volunteers program are not going to have these sorts of benefits, but occasionally you will find some who do work for large profitable companies and who provide these benefits even for lower paid workers. So on page 28 and continuing all the way, almost 30 pages to page 54, what is it, 27 pages of information about health savings accounts, the contributions, the earnings, the distributions, and the deduction, and dealing with Form 8889, which is the health savings account form. So you'll note that there are a lot of out-of-scope situations, and those are on page 54. Many of them, if there are unusual situations with respect to health savings accounts, we can't help those particular taxpayers, and we have to refer them to another tax preparer. But just know that the rules for health savings accounts, it's a very valuable benefit for a lot of workers, where you can get a little credit card or debit card. Really, it's a card that allows you to draw on your account and to make pre-tax payments of health expenses, and it's a very good thing. So a good benefit to have. And so do all the exercises, but also note on page 54 that there are a lot of situations. Somebody makes an excess contribution to an HSA, it's not withdrawn in a timely fashion. Well, they're out for the Vita program. We can't help them. So, and several other situations like that. Then on pages 55 through 69, there's a discussion of student loan interest, and this also is an important topic for many of the Vita customers. And so you'll see lessons on what is the deduction for student loan interest, what is it limited to, and you'll see those up through page 69. On page 70, there is a lesson on jury duty pay and the taxability of jury duty pay. So this actually is an increase. It's an adjustment that increases income. If you receive jury duty pay, you have to report that, and that goes into the calculation of adjusted gross income. Yes. And then there's a case study on page 71 of Daniela and calculating adjusted gross income, kind of a comprehensive example, and it gives you an audio file. I was unable to play the audio file. It wouldn't play on my computer, and I tried all of the audio adjustments I could think of and wasn't able to get it to work. But it is all printed out for you, and so you can imagine it You can play act it with a friend if you want to, or just read it yourself. But it's a good example of how to properly interview with respect to adjustments to income in the Vita program. So that's that's it for that. There, page 72 is some additional out of scope situations for Vita and TCE. And then on pages 73 through 78, we have the certification warm up and the practice test. And it's simple and straightforward, but do, put in your answers and then check them. And on page 79, there is a link to the TaxSlayer video. Watch it. It is really very good and gives you a great introduction into entering the adjustments to income that go into the calculation of adjusted gross income. So just make sure that as you study this, make sure that you're always looking at the current version of the various publications. That's especially important for publication 4491 and for publication 4012, which are our main forms for the Vita training program. So with that, I'm going to end lesson 17, adjustments to income. Have a great day, and the next time we get together, we'll look at the standard deduction, and if you're in the advanced program, we'll also take a look at itemized deductions. Good night.